Hey everybody, this is Kodak here. So, as I'm sure all of you know, whenever I try to do a toy review, I always try to make it as comprehensive as possible, reviewing not just the toy, but any sort of associated media as well, and that tends to include tie-in cartoons. And a lot of people seem to take issue when I act a bit harshly in my judgment of them at times. Why should I get so riled up? I mean, they're nothing but glorified toy commercials, right? I mean, lots of other anime and cartoon reviewers consider merchandise-driven shows to be a waste of time to review, so why do I care so much? I care because I feel that these shows should be able to measure up to shows of any other genre, and I believe that they can do amazing things, because they have done amazing things. Many times! Times where people have put in the care and effort to make a show that not only advertises a product, but which can inspire people and change lives. These are the kinds of shows that leave a lasting impact and can even be brought back decades later with reliable results. They can entertain us, teach us, and even enlighten us. And I've talked about tons of these shows on my channel. Now, as for this list, I can't guarantee that they're like the best shows ever made, but what I can assure you is that every single one of them has some sort of interesting angle to it. Whether it has a new take on the genre or some kind of new idea, I guarantee they are at least worth a watch. Now, as a general rule, these are all shows that I've never really gone in depth on, so if there's a show that I failed to mention here, odds are good that it has its own video somewhere. So shows like Voltron Legendary Defender, Super 4, Turning Mechard, Centurions, and of course Bakugan will not be on this list. So without further ado, here's a list of 4 merchandise-driven shows you've probably never seen. Easily earning a mention on this list is LEGO's Ninjago, about a group of ninjas who control the elemental powers of ninjutsu. Ninjago is a show that, considering that it features the actual LEGO guys, might seem at first glance to be a little too silly. Far from it. Upon giving it a chance, I discovered Ninjago to be one of the most interesting and amazing things to come out of the Billund-based Brick Brothers. Starting from the top, one of the keys to Ninjago's success is its infectious theme song, The Weekend Whip. Yeah, the song has a name. It's bouncy, fun, and really gets stuck in your head. It almost seems like the song was one that the band was already working on and just needed those extra lyrics to tie it all together. LEGO has tried many times to recapture that magic for all the songs in their other shows, but they haven't even hit in the same ballpark. I mean, I guess they did well with Everything is Awesome, but that's for the movie, so I don't know if that really counts. The next thing that makes Ninjago so great is how it treats its characters. All of the main characters have very distinct personalities, and the show has managed to keep every one of them interesting despite having only added one permanent new member to the main cast over the course of 8 seasons, and that was Lloyd back in Season 2. A lot of this success comes from making sure that they shore up any weaknesses that the cast might develop. Do the other ninjas seem underpowered compared to Lloyd? Well, let's take him away for a season. Uh-oh, does Jay not seem relevant anymore after that last season? Bam! Nauticon arc to put him front and center. It's a formula that has kept the cast at an even pace along with presenting them with a new and interesting challenge every time, and I hope they manage to keep it up. Now, when Gundam started to become popular back in the 1980s, Tomy responded with Zoids, a series of model kits that featured robotic animals rather than humans. Every one was bristling with creativity and used stronger, if cheaper plastic that contained motorized mechanisms that allowed the darn things to walk. Unfortunately, they weren't really able to put a dent in Gundam sales, and Tomy had to shelve their model kits for a while. But then in the early 2000s, when shows like Gundam Wing and others started to bring back interest in the robot genre, Tomy decided it was time to dust off their old franchise, and what we got was Zoids Chaotic Century. While Zoids was introduced in the United States by the retitled Zoids New Century Zero, Chaotic Century was actually the original Zoids. It covers the stories of Van Flyheight, the mysterious Fiona, and a pair of mercenaries named Irvine and Moonbay who are constantly finding themselves caught up in the tension between the Helic Republic and the Gylos Empire. Amazing robot battles ensue, with our main characters winding up working for both sides as the story goes on. Now, one of the things that sets Chaotic Century apart from its other shows is that the big robot war going on between the Republic and the Empire is actually a Cold War. The two sides haven't actually declared war on each other, but are constantly trying to antagonize the other into making the first move. Considering that most other giant robot shows take place in the middle of a war, seeing the main characters trying their best to prevent it from breaking out here gives the show a particular niche. Add in the fact that it takes place in a Wild West wasteland and oh, Be still my beating heart! It even features a main character in that rarest of anime ethnicities, Native American. Yeah, it can be difficult to tell what Moonbay is supposed to be thanks to avoiding racial stereotypes. I mean, aside from the fact that she's called Moonbay. This is made crystal clear in the manga version, where the rest of her family didn't escape the stereotype stick quite as well, but it's still a nice thing to see. There's a time skip halfway through the series which goes by the name Guardian Force. It isn't nearly as good as the first half, but all of it is worth a watch. Now, there are those that prefer New Century Zero over Chaotic Century, and I can understand that. It's a lot more fun and energized, being in the form of one long tournament arc, but if you want something with a little more meat on it, then I can't recommend Chaotic Century enough. Now, when it comes to top-notch French animation, most people think of Ankama's Whack Fu, a show created to promote an online game of the same name. Now, while I will admit that the animation used in it is breathtaking, I find that the show is a bit lacking in soul, its plot pretty much being a poor man's Last Airbender with none of the fun character depth. Its sister series Dofus, on the other hand. Dofus, The Treasures of Karub, still has all of that amazing Whack Fu level animation, but a far more interesting and creative premise, where a retired adventurer named Caribbean Crepon regales his adoptive grandson Joris with the stories of how he obtained all of his rare treasures. The results are an incredibly diverse and wonderfully filled out series where episodes can occur at any point in Caribbean's life, in any setting, and even any genre, and they don't even limit themselves to that. Every episode is bursting at the seams with creative ideas and fun adventures, and even those that take place outside the realm of Caribbean stories will always leave you satisfied. Another element of the series is that we learn pretty fast that Caribbean is an unreliable narrator who embellishes a lot of the details to make himself look better, but that's part of the fun, as it allows the stories to be huge and bombastic while the whole time we know there has to be a kernel of truth to it all, since he owns the items being talked about after all. And I haven't even started on all of the interesting side characters in there. Seriously, you need to watch this show. And finally, we come to that eternal can of worms, Barbie. Barbie has kind of always had a bad rap, and it doesn't help that the movies they make to go along with them are usually kinda bad. I mean, Barbie Three Musketeers gets a thumbs up from me, but that's a list for another time. No, what I'm here to talk about is Barbie Life in the Dreamhouse. Life in the Dreamhouse. Taking a page from Toy Story, this cartoon features the actual Barbie dolls, as in the actual toys, getting up to various adventures involving everything Barbie. It's sort of like a reality show, with the characters making the occasional aside as they go about their lives in the Dreamhouse. And it is hilarious. Seriously, I could not stop laughing all throughout the first episode. It is incredibly self-aware and cleverly written on top of that. I mean it. I made Barbie Life in the Roadhouse from a place of love because it has that sort of sense of humor I enjoy seeing. And this show fills me with so much hope. I mean, we live in a world where a Barbie cartoon is well written and interesting. A Barbie cartoon! The sky is the limit at this point! Life in the Dreamhouse.
Roadhouse.
So that's a look at a few shows that are worth a bit of your time. I love the merchandise-driven genre, especially when it can embrace what the medium has to offer, but as we all know, it's not all sunshine and roses, and we'll be going into the worst of it next time. Until then.